caring for the caregivers. When I was a little girl, I grew up on a ranch in Southern California, an equestrian community just about 10 minutes from Disneyland. We played outside a lot. You can't really blame my mom for throwing us outside because there were 5 of us and we were like a pack of puppies. She would just sort of get out. It's way easier for her to just hose us down, I think, at the end of the day. If you were a neighbor riding by, you'd notice something was just a little off about the Barrett kids, though. We weren't using words. Don't get me wrong, we could communicate with each other. I always knew when my brothers, I had 4 older brothers, I always knew when my brothers were happy or sad or mad or frustrated. But we were talking in grunts and growls and squeaks and squawks and bites and kicks. And there was something else a little odd. 4 children in diapers at 3, 5, 7, 9. My oldest brother, Richard Adam, was 11. He was in charge of all of us. And I look back now as an adult and I think, what a burden that must have been for him. You see, 3 of my older brothers were diagnosed with a rare genetic disease called mucopolysaccharidosis, type 2, also known as Hunter syndrome. MPS shattered our family apart. My parents divorced. My brother and I moved with my mom to Laguna Beach. My brothers were institutionalized, and even though we spent a lot of time with them, they eventually wasted away and died bedridden at 12, 18, and 19 years old. Unimaginable, the unthinkable, terrible pain in our family. And I didn't talk about it for many years. I talk about it all the time now, or I talk to them all the time now, typically when I'm in the hot tub in Marin County, San Francisco, California. It's a very Californian thing to do. I'll be sitting in the hot tub and I'll be looking up at the night sky, and you know that constellation Orion, the one with the 4 points and the 3 stars as a sword? Those are my brothers. They are my source of strength, and if you ever find yourself in a position where you need some, they'll be there for you as well. They're my guardian angels, and you can call on them. But life goes on, and I went to college, UCLA. I was a Pi Beta Phi sorority girl, had this really awesome career, 10 years at IBM. I'm 5 years in biotech and life sciences, so I could try to understand the research and what was happening with MPS disease, see if we could find a cure. I spent 7 years in advertising and marketing, and that was a good, fun run. Eventually, I met my husband. He's the love of my life, James O'Loughlin. And he's my East Coast guy with a West Coast mentality, just very chill, surfing, mountain biking. We needed that grounding because I'm a carrier of MPS, and so we had to go through many pregnancies to finally get to a healthy child. But we have her. Her name's Chloe, and here she is sending you some California sunshine. So, self-care. As a parent, as a mother, I really get this concept very deeply of caregiving. As a marketer, researcher, storyteller, moving off of Brené Brown's concepts, I'm really interested in the cause and effect. So this cry has an effect, right? It triggers this deep response. And so what is that response? When I hear the cry, what is the response? The response is love. And we have, as human beings, this incredible capacity for love. It's unending. If you have multiple siblings, your parents are always saying, don't worry, there's enough love to go around. And that's true. We can just give and give and give. And really, all of us are caregiving. We're giving of ourselves. And it doesn't really matter what we love, but we just give. Could be pets, could be plants, could be parents, could be partners, families, coworkers. We're just in this mode of giving and giving and giving, and sometimes along the way, we lose track of ourselves. We're giving so much that we're feeling depleted, especially when someone's hurt. When someone's hurting, when we see tears, when we see pain, it triggers this deep, deep, deep empathetic response in us. I was having a conversation with a British friend of mine, and he says, "Nobody wants to hear about pain." And I said, well, we're all in pain, so whether we decide we're going to address it or not, it's there. It sits in our bodies. So this deep empathetic response is something that we need to understand, and we need to pay close attention to. And we need to know that the care that we give to others, the love that we give to others, you are worthy of that same love. I'm speaking the truth, and I want you to really internalize this. In order to sustain yourself, in order to keep giving of yourself, you need to take care of yourself. So no time like the present. What I'd like to ask you to do, this is very California, is breathe with me. We're going to breathe together 3 times. And since we're in the Philharmonie, and it has a beautiful acoustics, when we do our exhales, I'm going to ask for an Om. Place one hand on your heart chakra and the other on your core. Close your eyes. Take a deep inhale. Breathe out pain. Breathe in love. Breathe out deeply. Breathe in love. Let me hear you. Open your eyes. Thank you for trusting me. You can use that tool anytime you need to, okay? You must love yourself first. Okay, so I have the opportunity in my day-to-day life, or I should say I've created the opportunity to work with families that are dealing with the kind of difficulty that the Barrett family dealt with. I work with families, particularly mothers who have children that have been diagnosed with rare disease. What I know about these families, about these mothers, is that they're living in courage every day. So let's set a little context. Rare disease impacts more people than AIDS and cancer combined. There are 7,000 rare diseases that have been identified, and more due to science coming online every day. Most of these diseases are caused by one faulty gene, one genetic mutation that's been passed down from parent or parents to child. Most families don't know that genetic disease or mutation is running in their family. That's the criticality of newborn screening. And that gives us 350 million people on the planet that are living with rare disease. That's more than the population of the United States. Half of those are children, and a third won't see their 5th birthday. So what do you have? You have millions of mothers, millions of families waking up literally every day fighting for the life of their child. What do they need? So we asked them. I had a great opportunity to partner with Indiana University and a team of students that were getting their master's in social work, and we surveyed moms across America, both indirect and direct interviews. One of the things they asked for, we can't give them, as our organization, is a cure. We're not focused on the scientific side, but what we are focused on is the social, emotional, financial health side. And guess what they said? They just want to be heard. They just want time with their relationships, whether it's their partner or their family, and they just want a little bit of time for themselves. Back to caregiving, back to self-care. So let's meet a couple of these moms, really illustrate the point. This is Shelby. Shelby Lyon lives just out of Chicago, Illinois. She is Viking tall. She's got long, flaming red hair. She's got this adoring husband, Randy, and she's mother to 4 children. It's taken Shelby 8 years to get an accurate diagnosis for her son, Owen. Her son was misdiagnosed 3 times. She met with 10 specialists. Every appointment, every set of tests and exercise and courage. So how does Shelby cope? Can you imagine her in the doctor's office? Mrs. Lyon, your son has been diagnosed with a rare genetic disease called Sanfilippo. He's got a faulty gene that will cause his body to degenerate over time, affecting his heart, his lungs, his eyes, his ears. He will gain the ability to walk. He will lose his ability to walk. He will gain his ability to speak. He will lose his ability to talk. Mrs. Lyon, Owen's not likely to see his 20th birthday. There is no treatment and there is no cure. How do you take that news? I asked her, I said, Shelby, what did you feel that day? And you know what she said? Relief. The anxiety of not knowing what her son was suffering from was worse than the prognosis itself. She said, at least now we know to stop hoping he'll get better. We can just move him downstairs, put up the handicap bars, and love him as long as we have him. That is living courage every day. And Shelby's coping skill is her art. She's this beautiful photographer, and she shares her journey. She's not holding her pain inside. She's opening her journey up for the people around her. In fact, she's gone so far as to form the Women Warriors Project and host retreats for other people going through difficult things. And I just think that that's such a testimony to the type of person that she is, such a resilience. Meet Lynn. Lynn runs a big bank in California. She's just the consummate alpha female. She's got 2 kids, and her younger daughter, Michelle, is diagnosed with MPS 1. Her way of coping is to get out there and ask for help. So she goes to Washington, D.C. regularly. She meets with her senators. She meets with her House of Representatives. There are elected officials. They're controlling the budgets for research and caregiving. So she asks for help. And I just find that so inspiring, and so do her children. So her daughter, Michelle, is now a freshman in high school. She's recorded a song with a songmaker in Los Angeles, and I had the great privilege of seeing Michelle up on stage at the Whiskey A Go-Go. Super courageous little girl. When we asked Lynn, what do you do to cope? She said, we're lucky. There are so many hearts to heal. So isn't that just the classic empathetic response, not even focusing on herself? So her coping skill is to build community. And then there's my mom. She's the classic introvert. She's not out there asking for help, advocating, publishing on social media. You heard quite a bit about their story, at least from the child's point of view, but I can tell you, even though my mother's an introvert, she's one of the strongest women I know. She is the strongest woman I know. She and my father met in high school. He was the blue-eyed captain of the football team, and she was the raven-haired head drill team leader, dancing her way through life. They had a basketball team of kids within 8 years. My mother didn't know that she carried MPS disease in her genes. But she knew that my oldest brother, Richard, was not developing the same way. She knew that In him and in David and Jared, there was a difference. So she kept talking to the pediatricians, kept asking, why can't David straighten his arm? And that finally clued them in that there was a problem. Randy, David, and Jared passed away in their teens, as I mentioned, but there was great honoring in our family. My father crafted their caskets because they were too big for child's caskets and too small for adult caskets. My grandmother and my mother sewed the blue satin and their white suits, and I still remember the blue carnations. Great honoring can come in passing. And my mother's self-care technique, journaling. Thank God, because it got her through. It got her to be more present. And she is a constant source of inspiration for myself and for my daughter, Chloe, who is also a carrier of MPS and will have her own journey one day. So if there's any takeaways, it's that you're stronger than you seem. You're incredibly resilient. You can move beyond the why me and quickly into acceptance. Life really is an illusion into the future. So live in the present. Take care of yourself. And use nature as a way to support you. And what I'll say that suffering is really a means to empathy. And empathy is the way to love. You've heard the story of my parents. You know that they divorced. What you don't know is that they each remarried again, short-term marriages, then they each remarried one more time, longer-term marriages. They widowed within a year of each other, right when my daughter was born. And Richard and Phyllis have gone full circle. They are now back together. So if that's not your Hollywood ending, your love story, I don't know what is. Your time is precious, and I thank you for sharing it with me.